Alright, so I told you that you can think of view as a div and text as a paragraph, but let me give you a bit more explanation on what's going on here. So I have a bit of a comment here. So React components, which is text and view, we have imported from React Native. These are React components. I guess these are pre-built components that we can simply import from there and start using. Okay, so these components wrap existing native code and interact with native APIs. The code that you use if you're building the native apps for iOS, you would be using a programming language called which one they use at the moment? That one, Objective-C. No, that was before. Now they use Swift. Okay, so you have to learn the programming language called Swift if you want to build native apps for iOS, and for Android it is Java, I guess. Yeah. So luckily, since you know JavaScript, you don't have to learn those two different languages. So the point I'm trying to make here is, if you wanted to build a native apps which feels native, the performance is absolutely great, right? So to build such apps, you have to write the native code. Luckily, with React Native, you can write JavaScript code, but what these components help you do is these components wrap the existing native code and interact with the native APIs. So even though you're writing JavaScript code, you are actually building a native apps, which gives you the best performance and user experience. All right. So there is another way of building the apps, which is showing the web view. So basically, it will appear as an app, but when users using it, you are actually showing them the website version of it in the mobile device. So you may have used such apps in real life as well. Some apps, they really laggy and they don't feel like you're using the mobile apps. They're slow and then they're laggy, you know. So that kind of apps, most likely they are wrapping the web view and they're presenting you as an app, but it is actually the web app running behind the scene. So in that case, the performance will be very poor. However, with React Native, we actually build the native apps because these components wrap the existing native code and interact with native APIs. All right, so some of these components we have already used, that is text and view, and there are a lot more which we will obviously discover during this course. Now, before we go ahead and learn how to layout, because that's one of the most important things you want to learn beforehand. For example, this text sitting right here, horizontally and vertically, right in the middle of the screen. So how do you move this text here on the upper left or upper right, or maybe the lower left, lower right? You know, how do you position elements? How do you position these contents on the screen? That is one of the most important things you want to learn, and that's where we are going. So we will be using the flexbox to achieve the layout we want. But before we do that, let me quickly show you the status bar, which I deleted in the previous video. And let me give you a bit of an example of how you can customize the status bar right here. At the moment, it's all plain white. You can't really see anything. So let me bring that back. And here you can see style at the moment is auto. And as soon as you have the auto, you saw the time is here, battery and Wi-Fi sign is there. But if you didn't have this one, you can see that's gone. Okay, so that's the status bar. And I guess this one has other properties you can use. Style, you can use light. Okay, so light, it's really not visible. If we had the black background, probably then we can see, but at the moment no. Let me try dark. Okay, so with that it shows, or even auto it shows. Anyways, we might work more on the status bar later, but this is how you can use this. And if you want to learn more about that, you can also status bar, you can have a look at it in the documentation. Okay, so there are different ways of styling it. Alright, so in the next video we go ahead and learn to layout using Flexbox. Alright, so now we're going to learn how to lay out the items. Okay, so that's one of the most important things you want to learn when you're building the native apps for mobile devices. So for example, let's imagine that this text we have, this could be anything, and instead of text it could be anything. So let's see how we can put this on the top left right here, and then the bottom left, and similarly let's try to put it on the right top, center, and the right bottom. So that way you get a fair bit of understanding of how the Flexbox works. All right, because as you can imagine, when you're working with the mobile application, you have a very small screen and you want to fit so many things, and you want to learn how to lay out. Sometimes you need to position something here, something maybe center right here, sometimes just right here, right? So you want to learn how to do all that, and using Flexbox you can easily achieve those things, and you know, that's the most important thing you need to know when it comes to layout and positioning. All right, so let's play around. It's pretty straightforward. So first let's try this text. At the moment you can see it is horizontally and vertically centered. Now let's try, first we're going to try to put it on the top left corner, then we will try center left, and then we try bottom left, and then again we're going to try to do the same thing on the top right, center right, and bottom right. Okay, so we'll try all these positioning. Let's see how we can do that. Okay, so for when you have a look at here, it is the container class name we have applied here to this view. You can see it starts as container, and that class, the CSS is right here. So it is using Flexbox, so Flex 1, and then the background you can always change that, and align item center, justify content center, and that keeps it in the center of the screen. Now if you remove that, it goes to its default position, which is at the very beginning on the left, top left. All right, so that is the default behavior. That's what you get. So that's top left. Now let's see how we can center left this one, which means right here. So previously it's here horizontally and vertically also center, but we don't want to horizontally center, we just want it to start right from here. So if you want that, all you have to do is remove the align item center, and then that's how you get it right here in the center, justify content center. Okay, so that's how you can center the content on the left side by default. And then let's try the bottom left as well. Let's see how we can put this text right here. So for that, what you can do is the justify content flex end. You can apply that class name, and you can see it is sitting on right here on the bottom left. Okay, so we covered these ones. Now let's see how we can put it on the top right, top center, right center, and the bottom right bottom. Okay, that's a bit confusing names. Okay, so top right. So if you want it to be on the top right, we can justify content, we can comment that out, and align items. We can do flex end, and you can see here the item has been put on the top right. Okay, so that's how we can put it on the top right. Now if we want to center it here on the right, justify content, we're going to change this to center. Okay, so that will put this element on the right center. If we want to put it on the bottom right, you can use flex end, and for the justify content also you can use flex end. Alright, so you can see a flexbox, it is extremely powerful, but if you're new to it, it can get a bit confusing. So this is how I learned. First thing I learned is how do you position on the top, right and left, center, right and left, and bottom, right and left. So once you understand that, you can over time you'll pretty comfortable working with this one. So you can repeat this lesson one more time and maybe even take a note of how to do these things. Maybe write a note and keep it somewhere so that next time you don't get confused and you know exactly what to do when it comes to layout and positioning. Okay, now let's learn about components and props. Okay, so how you create components and how you can pass the props or properties to make those components reusable, right? So that's another core features of React. So we're going to learn that. So let me just keep it center for now. We'll come back to it. Okay, so let's create another component. At the moment, let's write here on the same file, but later we will move to a separate components file, and then you will learn how to use separate component, pass the props. But for the moment, to keep things simple, let's just write here. So const, let's call it welcome. Welcome equals to, so this component will basically take the properties. For example, let's say user's name, and it will greet that user by saying welcome Ryan or welcome David, something like that. So that name we will give as props. All right, so this is a function. Each component there a function. You can see this is the arrow function. All right, so if you use curly brace, make sure to use return keyword. If you are just creating one single element, then you can use parentheses as well. If you use parentheses, you have to make sure to put everything inside one block, but you don't need to write a return keyword. All right, so we can use this. So this function takes the props and it will return. It's a single element, so we don't need to write return keyword, no curly brace, it's just the parentheses here. And here we can create a view. I keep saying div, but think of div as view in React Native. And here, let's say I want to greet the users, for example, hello, and then the props, whatever name that is. So I can put that in text, and I can say hello, and then I can show the name props.name. Okay, so this is the component. This component expects the props, and if we send the name in the props, you will be able to see that. All right, so now we can try using that component. So we can use that here. So let me just write here. So we use that component and we need to pass the props name. So let's pass name Ryan, and now you can see hello Ryan is there. Now you can reuse this component by passing different names. For example, let's just copy this one, paste a few times more, and then let's pass different name, Jen, and then David. And you can see here we have reused this component to print out 3 different welcome messages here. Okay, so let me remove this one for now. Perfect. So that's how you can create a component, pass different props, and make it reusable. So when you're building a real world application, most of the time you will not be passing data like this. Instead, you might have the array of names, and then you will look through those arrays, and then return this component, so this component will show different names. For example, we can give it a try. Let's create array of names. Let's call it names equals to create an array, and then here we can have different names. So Ryan, Jane, David. Okay, so we got the array here. Now we can use map function to map through the array and return the welcome component. Okay, so right here I can use map, so names.map. So map is a function, it takes another function as an argument, so we give another function here. So when you're mapping through its names, you get its name. So what you can do here is we can return. Now we want to return this component welcome, so you can write that here, welcome, and now you can just remove that. Now you can see here we have 3 names, so this map ran 3 times, but we still showing the same name. Now instead of this hard-coded name, let's make it dynamic by passing the dynamic name properties. So its names, we get its name, and then we pass that its name to this component, and this way you can see now we have Ryan, Jane, and David. Now we can obviously move this to a separate component of its own. So let's create a components folder. Inside components folder we can create a file called welcome, and there let me just copy that code, cut from here, go to welcome and paste here. Let's make sure to import React. Okay, so we got that function. We can export default welcome. Okay, so this component is here. It takes the props and displays the props name. So here we are using that, so all we have to do is import that component here. Import welcome from, we go one step up, we go inside components, welcome. Okay, so we import that, we use that here. Can't find variable view. Okay, so yeah, we're using view and text, so we need to import that as well here. So import view text from React Native. Awesome, now it works. That's great. Now there's one more thing you can do to shorten your code, because you can see the props, you are accessing the name, right? So you're accessing the name property from the props. Now that is something you can destructure directly as well using the curly brace and then name. So you can destructure like that, and that way you don't have to keep writing props over and over again. You can just write it like this, which is nice and easy. All right, perfect. All right, so the next thing I want to have a look at is the splash screen. So if you reload your device, okay, so when you open it for the first time, you can see that logo that appears before the application loads. So that logo you can change in app.json. So at the moment it is using splash.png, which is right here. Go to the assets, splash.png. So that is the icon you see here. So if you want to see that, you can use you can hit $R to reload, or you may have some menu restart, so that option is also available, so you can try that. Or you can just click on the device and hit $R twice, so that will also reload the screen. Okay, for some reason it has landed me on this screen, but that's alright. You can always click here and notice that there will be a splash screen logo here that should appear soon. Okay, so that's the application. If I click here, you can see that is the logo, and then the application loads. So that logo, that is the splash screen logo, you can always change. Usually people use the brand logo or something like that. So we can find a nice logo. If you have a logo of your own, obviously you can use that. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to get one from Pixabay. So you get a lot of royalty-free images from here. So what I'm going to search for, rainbow. Actually, let's search for logo type. Okay, so this is the one I want to use. You can find it, but obviously you feel free to choose any other, or you can even use your own logo, but I'm just going to use this. It looks pretty cool. So free download. Let me choose that size, and you can directly save that in your folder. So this is the project we're working on. Go to the assets and you can just save there. Let me just rename this to logo.png. Perfect. Alright, now we have logo.png. So let me go to app.json and change the image from splash to logo. Alright, now I can hit R twice to reload the screen. Okay, so to reload, I've been using R for like maybe 1 year, but suddenly it's not working. So there must have been some changes. So you can also try, go to device sec, and then you get all these options. So you can click on this to reload, and you'll see that logo appears for a while, and then the application loads. All right, so that's how you can change the splash screen logo. And you can see you got that warning as well there, because when we use map, we have to give the unique key to each return. So for this welcome component also, we can give the key. At the moment we don't have the object with any ID or anything, so we can just use name for now. Okay, so each name will be, the key will be unique when we're mapping through the names and rendering the welcome component each time. So give the key, and then yeah, that's how you can reload. You click on the sec, reload, you get to see your logo for a while. That's the splash screen logo. Alright, so next topic I want to cover is web view. So web view is something that you show your website in the app. So to users, it looks like the app, but behind the scene you are just showing the web page. Okay, so that is one quick and dirty way of quickly building apps. Even though you are basically rendering the web view, it can look like an app, so that's one quick and easy way of doing things. However, the problem with that is most of the time the user experience, it will be quite slow, so it will definitely does not feel like using the actual the app. Sometimes you may have even experienced yourself when you using some apps are really laggy, and then they don't really scroll well, touch is not good, performance is very poor, so that they might be using web view. However, it's not always bad. Sometimes you need to open up a view for a particular site. Depending on the situation, it can be an excellent solution as well. Okay, it's not all negative. It's awesome. So let's give it a try, and then we're going to move on to building the actual application. And then during that process, you will be learning pretty much everything you want to know. Okay, so before we go ahead with that, let's quickly try this web view. For that, we're going to use the npm package called web view. Okay, so you can search React Native web view npm, and you can see it's quite a popular package, so we can install that, copy that command, come here, stop the server using control X, paste that here to install that package, and you can see how to use that. You can import web view from React Native web view, and you just return this component, give it source of the URL, simple as that. Okay, so we can try that. Let's make sure we run the server, npm start, and I'm running on the iOS simulator, so I will press I. Okay, so come here, and we can continue using on this app. Import web view from React Native web view, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment this out, the whole view for now, and I'm just going to use the web view. So as you saw in the documentation, what you have to do is you have to give the source and URI and the actual website name. So let me try https://codecontinue.com. So let's try that. Okay, so it's running. So let me reload. Okay, so while it's happening, you can see the splash screen logo. That's good. But you can always apply some CSS as well here. If you need style, you can write your styling here. But for now, I think it is working pretty good. Alright, so that's web view.